Alright guys, I figured before we all get into the holiday madness, and I don't really have time until probably Saturday. I know I'm going to be really tired Friday night, so I'll be sleeping more than likely. But I'm going to go ahead and continue on with chapter 6, titled I Suggest You Step Off. Drift's idea of a track day was to travel all the way to Blackhawk Farms in South Beloit. The track is only a 1.95 miles long with a 7-turn circuit. Sky invited her friend Erica to join so she wasn't seated in the bleachers alone while Drifton and I took the track. My posture was obscurely bent from the protective gear that covered me. I gave Sky a confident kiss before sliding on my helmet. "Please be careful, Malice," Sky begged. "Always, babe." We started going at 40 miles per hour just to let me adjust to the curves. The longer we rode, the more Drifton would speed up. With each completion made, he'd fall back letting me lead, then speed up having me follow his exact movement. I glided around the tight corners while picking up my pace. The more traction my tires burned against the asphalt, the more the bike would naturally lean over on either side until my knee touched. Glancing down at my speedometer, I saw it flicker between 129 miles per hour to 130 miles per hour. I about shit myself when I looked back up to see myself exceedingly approaching a large curve. Instinctively, I held my breath, burying my head below the windscreen, feeling the bike lean completely over on my left-hand side. The scraping of my knee pad dragging against the asphalt had my adrenaline on fire. I felt beyond accomplished finishing my final lap, coming to a stop. Drift hopped off his bike, running over to congratulate me. "Dude, that was amazing! I am so proud of you. And you didn't think that you would be able to do it on your first day." I guess I was just overwhelmed with anxiousness and eagerness to learn. I pulled off my helmet, feeling the wind soar through my sweaty hair as it cooled my face. Sky and Erica were standing in ovation congratulating me. The closer we got to the bleachers, the faster my footsteps became. Finally within my reach, I pulled Sky in for a tight hug, rubbing my masculine sweat all over her face and neck. "Ew, gross, babe," she whined. "But on another note, you were a little badass out there," she smiled, looking me in the eyes. I gave her a deep, compassionate kiss as she jumped on my waist. "Are you ready to ride with me?" "I've been ready, baby." She kissed me once more. That night we got so fucked up I couldn't tell my asshole apart from my elbows. Since Erica was in town, she crashed at the house with us for the next 3 days. And you guessed it, all we did was get drunk and high and sought out to party our lives away. On Erica's last night in town, her and Sky waited to hit some nightclub. I was already in quite the impulsive mood throughout the day after starting my sleeve at Juan Miso's tattoo shop. He did a straight 4-hour session that covered from my left shoulder down to my elbow. I wasn't feeling too up for getting out or for going out since my fresh ink burned to the slightest wisp of wind that rolled across it. Granted, it was Erica's last night, and I didn't know when Sky would be able to have another chance to see her again, so I sucked it up for her sake. I dressed in all black with a flat build and some jeans for comfort, sliding my feet into some Vans, Sky's arms bowed around my neck from behind. I looked into the mirror, watching her kiss down my neck, closing my eyes, letting her touch run amiable across the raised skin that radiated heat and color. "You make me so happy, you know that?" she whispered. "I would hope so." Most people would consider our lives anywhere from insanity-driven to complete mayhem, but I just call it living. I crave adventure, and a little misbehavior here and there never hurts. I pressed my lips together, letting her ramble. Sky crawled off the bed to stand in front of me, placing both hands on either side of my face. Rubbing my scruff, she leaned in, pressing her forehead against mine. "This shit feels so fucking good when against my skin, by the way." I let out a small laugh, following her out to join Erica and Drift in the living room. "Let's go out and cause some trouble," Drifton said devilishly. The club was crowded when we arrived. The second floor had an overhang balcony that wrapped around the side of the building. It was full of people leaning over, holding drinks, conversing amongst one another. The music became obscenely loud as we entered through the front door. Smoke and bright lasers filled the room as the dance floor flashed with variations of color. Once my eyes landed upon the bar, I grabbed the girls a drink before helping myself. Here, take this if you want. Drifton placed a small button-sized Ziploc into my palm. It took a second for me to recognize what it was. Ecstasy. I quickly shoved it into my pocket, fighting to undo the tiny bag using only my fingers. Once I felt the seal part, I twiddled my fingers inside, pulling out one and offering it to Sky. Drift gave me some. Do you want it? Sky took it into her possession with a nod. What about Erica? We can't just leave her hanging. I didn't see anything wrong with that, so I handed her another one. In one sequence, I watched us all furtively pop the erotic-filled tablet into our mouths. Sweat dripped from my body while continuously dancing in time, unable to halt my movement. We danced for so long that my legs began to burn. Every touch from Sky was dramatically filled with bliss, and I couldn't seem to get enough. Her back pressed into me, and as we grinded to the music, never considering a settle for a slowdown. Sound waves echoed in my head as I matched Sky's vibe. I ran my hands beneath her tank top, feeling sweat roll down her taut belly, lubricating my fingertips, guiding them further down to her hips. I firmed my grip, feeling her ass flush against my pelvis. I almost lost my self-control as my hands ascended upward beneath her bra, letting my fingertips gyrate around the unhardened nipples. Sky gasped, grabbing my hands, shoving them back down her ribcage, tilting her head back into my shoulder. Letting out a soft moan, she continued to circulate her body's motion erotically with mine. I let my hot breath stream across her neck as my scruff formed friction with her cheek. Drift and Erica were off on their own somewhere, leaving us to enjoy ourselves. Turning to face me, Sky pulled me in, placing her hands in my back pockets to give my ass a stiff squeeze. I just laughed, pressing my forehead against hers, following her sway to the music. A more sensual R&B song came through the speakers, causing Sky to break away from me. I quirked my head as she began dancing circles around me. I stood still until Sky decided to stand directly behind me, reaching her hands underneath my shirt, dragging her nails down the ridges of my stomach. I overlapped hers with mine, lowering them to my hips. Becoming more daring, I pushed the tips of her fingers just below my belt line. Sky's nails retracted like those of a cat as they pierced my skin like tiny daggers. I let out a rough breath, feeling myself harden beneath my jeans. I tried controlling my thoughts, but it was impossible while high on ecstasy. I quickly turned to face Sky with her eyes set deeply in agitated lust. I waved my index finger back and forth. If you don't stop, we're going to fuck on this dance floor, I warned. She gave a shrug. And who said that was a bad thing? Come here, you, I groaned, pulling her in for a kiss. Sky ran her tongue on the inside of my mouth, lining my teeth, trying to refrain from clenching her jaw. Straws only did so much justice when it came to refocusing on plastic rather than grinding her teeth. A young gentleman much like myself came up on us, positioning himself right behind Sky. Letting her rock into him, he ignored the fact that I was standing directly on the other side. For the duration of the song, I found myself sharing a rather intimate dance with some stranger, while my girlfriend was sandwiched between two horny cocks. Anger tugged at my core as my eyes captured his hands rested on her hips. Sky didn't seem too worried as she danced along with him. Jealousy was a common feeling when it came to Sky. Even though she didn't find it threatening, I knew better. I'm a fucking guy. I know how we think, and the sinister look in his eyes only showed the absence of his reverence to our monogamous decision. My heart pounded against my chest as his head lowered next to hers, pressing his jaw into her neck. Just when I thought I was on the verge of lashing out, the song finished, leaving my mysterious component to walk off, disappearing through the sea of frolic bodies. Why are you looking so serious? Because I almost knocked that fucking guy's lights out. My eyes remained fixated in the direction that the stranger fled in. Malice. She placed her hand to my tightened chest. We were only dancing. Besides, seeing a small spark of possessiveness in those eyes are very sexy. I do apologize if I come off too desirous, but you make it impossible to not so indulge in the alluring charisma that you radiate at all times. I gave a half smile. Sky shook her head to my nonsense, placing a tender kiss to my neck. Looking through her, I saw Drift and Erica squeezing through the crowd to reach us. And where the hell have you been, Missy? Sky asked, indiscriminate. We were just lounging upstairs, watching the two of you do all but have sex on the dance floor, Erica claimed. I felt my Adam's apple rise and drop shamefully. As lascivious as my mind may be, I tried my best to conform an appropriate demeanor under the vigilant public eye. If being publicly affectionate was my worst sin, then let my soul be forever damned. Sky just laughed, continued to dance along with Erica. Meanwhile, drifting motion for me to follow him to the restroom. I informed Sky that I would soon return before parting ways to catch up with him. How did the X hold you up? I mean, it felt pretty nice. I'm still rolling. Why? I'm about to do a line if you want to join. Okay, I agreed hesitantly. After inhaling a bump from the top of my hand, my nose burned so badly it shot severe pain up the side of my head. Oh, what the fuck is that shit? I groaned. Ever hear of ice? What? I pinched my nose. It's a methamphetamine much like speed. It pretty much stimulates your brain and keeps you up for umpteen hours. Jesus Christ! You gave me fucking crystal meth? I slapped him forcefully in the arm. Calm down, Mally. The worst that will happen to you is you won't feel the need to want to sleep or eat for a while until you come down. It could take, sometimes 2 days, depending upon the user. I breathed in heavily. I could totally fucking murder you right now. If I die, so help me God, I will force my poltergeist into slitting your fucking throat while you sleep. Drifton's eyes enlarged as he belted out into a repugnant laugh. I rolled my eyes, exiting the bathroom in search for Sky and Erica. No longer on the dance floor, I frantically scanned the dim room from corner to corner until my eyes landed on them talking upstairs. Sky's expression became worrisome when my disturbed posture came off rather irritated. Drifton came up behind me, offering one of the 2 drinks he was holding. I took a hold of one bearing a darker color, putting my nose to the rim for a sniff. Did you spike my drink too? I asked sarcastically. It's just Jack and Coke, as in the soda. I cut my eyes at his foolish remark, throwing the entire cup of alcohol back in one gulp. Crushing the plastic in my palm, I threw it into the nearest trash can with an agitated force. Sky squeezed my bicep, holding curiosity in her eyes. Damn, babe. Are you alright? I'm just fine. I scowled towards Drift. The longer the night stretched on, the more alert and hyped up I became. Going through a dozen straws and a pack of gum, I was only waiting for my teeth to crumble from my mouth. I would randomly twitch and tweak out, constantly flexing the muscles in my jaw and hands. Drinking on top of it all made my side effects worsen. Sky was seated next to me with her legs rested across my lap, while she and Erica conversed. I couldn't stop looking at her mouth, and the tiny smiles and giggles she'd release while she spoke. I began rubbing her leg, applying an arresting grip, yearning for Sky's eyes to meet mine. In what seemed like slow motion, she turned her head, glancing at me sensually. I mouthed, I want you, making her smile pull back to her ears while arching an eyebrow. Sky looked back towards Erica, suggesting that we should go back to the house. Without disagreement, we filed through the crowd and out to the parking lot. Sky pranced several feet ahead of me, while my footing became heavier, thudding across the pavement just as we were up into my arms. I captured her, spinning her around like the little princess she was, carelessly laughing. Placing her feet back to the ground below, she leaned against the side of the car, tugging at my shirt. I planted my hands on the door, bending down to place my lips against the softness of hers. Descending down to her neck, I gave a light nibble, feeling her buckle beneath me. Take me home, Sky faintly whispered. Yes, ma'am. Hours deep into a lustful escapade, my muscles were tight from dehydration. I wrapped a sheet around my waist, making my way out into the living room. Standing in complete horrification, I saw a silhouette bouncing up and down on the couch. Erica was riding Drift so hard, I could hear her ass smacking. Oh! I felt myself grimace trying to sneak down the stairs to the kitchen. Making it safely, I pulled the refrigerator open, grabbing a bottle of water. Sky was more than pleased seeing me return with one. I crawled back beneath the sheet, pulling her into me. She laid her head on my chest, playing with my fingertips in tachyterm. The moon's lighting placed a perfect glow against Sky's flawless body. I ran my hand up and down her back to soothe her to sleep, while I struggled to rest myself. I lay awake in silence for almost 3 hours until realizing that my right arm was completely numb, lying prisoner beneath Sky's head. I attempted to move my fingers to gain sensation, yet it only tingled and burned my nerve endings. Sky slightly woke up to my movement, only to draw back the covers to reach her leg across me. I looked over to the closest thing I had ever seen, to fall under the entitlement of a virtuous angel. Running my fingertips up and down her thigh, chill bumps soon rose beneath my touch. Excitement burrowed its head deep into my core, making me want her body pressed against mine. I wrapped my left arm around her, pulling her weight onto my chest, completely ignoring the pain from the recent artwork. Sky's eyes cracked open, trying to figure out what it was that I was doing to her. "Baby, I want you on me," I groaned. Her eyes fully opened, licking her lips while she rolled over to sit on top of me. The sheet slid down from around her shoulders, lying comfortably in the crook of her arms. I ran a hand through her hair to view her languor face, capturing her Monroe that twinkled in the lighting like a small star. Sky planted her hands into my chest, feeling my erection ossify between her legs. With a light intake of breath, she began motioning back and forth, letting me glide in between her moist folds. I pressed my fingers into her hips, forcing her harder into me. Sky sighed, digging her nails into my chest, reaching her arms above my head while interlocking our fingers. I knew she was swelled with excitement and want to the extremity of throbbing for a deeper friction. Sky arched back while placing the head of my erection at her entrance, lubricating the tip just to tease me. The glistening of her wet flesh had me so overwhelmed. I rested her back against my arm, pushing myself inside of her. The soreness had her cringing from our prior engagement. I didn't want to hurt her, but at the same time, I couldn't control myself from fucking the shit out of her. Sky threw her head back, moaning louder with each thrust, clawing at the back of my head, gradually embedding her nails. I knew it was almost unbearable by her expression, eyes tightly shut and her mouth agape. Though she never complained or asked me to stop, instead she quickened her pace, tearing the skin from my chest. We got so cut up I scooped her up onto my waist, slamming her onto top of my dresser, ramming into her until her breath was caught up in her throat. Feeling her vaginal muscles constrict around me had me pressed tightly against her hips. Sky's nails pierced my back while she entered her climax. I kept going until I fell into my own cumulation. I tried pulling out, but Sky denied every attempt by keeping her legs locked tightly around me. The air circulated from the ceiling fan and caused the indentions on my back to burn. Entering a state of exhaustion, I carried Sky over to the bed, gently placing her down onto the mattress before collapsing beside her. "I swear all we do is fuck," I laughed. "Yeah, but you're usually way more gentle than that. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but you were just like in beast mode. But I loved every second of it, and I really was wondering when you were going to let yourself go." I stared blankly at the ceiling fan, trying to push my past far from my mind. I didn't like how uncontrollable and untamed I once was. Sky is far from being interested in sadism, and even if she struck curiosity, I'd regretfully deny. I only feel love and adore when we have sex. I have maybe stretched a little beyond my restraints tonight, but it would never exceed anything further than that. That was chapter 6, and I'll probably have enough time to read chapter 7 for you guys, so stay tuned.